First, I'd like to say that I wake up every morning feeling really blessed. I was raised in the home of faithful Christian parents with prior generations dedicated to Christ in really evident ways, even to a self-absorbed little kid like I was. Since then, I've been blessed with a wonderful wife who loves Jesus, and the love overall that's been shown to me in life has given me just great confidence in the future and in God's blessing. From the perspective of being a little kid, though, it's easy to look on the smooth seas that you experience without really grasping just how unusual those circumstances are. You know, among the 330 million Americans and 7 billion people living in all sorts of conditions on this planet of ours. For me to be able to grasp that difficult circumstances could be part of God's plan generally, as well as for me, required several stages. And translating that into empathy really took the example of other people. First, I was an adult when 3 out of my 4 grandparents died. One died when I was 1, so I really didn't have any experience there. But I was out of college when 3 of my 4 grandparents died, and 1 even made it to Kathy and my wedding. And so the sense of loss that came with that, as well as the joy of their lives, is something that kind of hit me differently because of how it occurred and when it occurred in my life. But after their passing, I really entered a period that was really punctuated by drama, just all sorts of it. I was in Manhattan for 9/11, and Kathy was 8 months pregnant with our youngest daughter, Grace. It was the first of really several perspective-changing events. And together, these really taught me that no blessing can be taken for granted, and that gratitude needs to be a central aspect of my daily existence. Working in the investment business, major economic shocks often present themselves front and center, daily basis. I was at a Bear Stearns conference back in March of 2008, and on Monday morning, the entire firm was wiped out. It was kind of the kickoff of the financial crisis, and the Bear Stearns employees there, some of whom were friends of mine, just literally wiped out overnight. And yet the conference carried on for the rest of the week because they'd been bought by JP Morgan for next to nothing. Life savings, livelihoods wiped out overnight. It's awful stuff. And there have been more things like that, but it just teaches you that there's no safety in the things of the world. There's just nothing. And yet, there are, as I've learned, there's so many more devastating problems that people face every day. It's almost embarrassing to stand here and claim to have suffered in any really meaningful way. That by itself is really humbling. I have, though, learned to observe. As some, probably more than some of you know, I spend a lot of time on my feet, walking or running through our city, and in New York before that. That's brought me in contact with a lot of people that I can see suffering in all sorts of different ways, all sorts of different pains, from being exposed to the elements 24/7, and not just in Miami, but in New York. Mental illness, addiction. I stop and I engage with people and who I know are suffering. And I guess related to that, but tangentially, one of the things that's had the biggest recent effect on me has been, there's a local street preacher here in Miami named Eric, and what he does takes such courage. It's not ego that powers somebody through that, imagine the responses that people give you standing on the corner preaching Jesus to whoever comes by. It's pure love for God's people. And his command to feed his sheep and be fishers of men, it's really caused me to ask myself, how am I serving? Where has my courage been hiding? Learning to place myself in other people's shoes really has not been an easy thing. But learning to stop being the hero and center of my own story, and instead loving my neighbor, all of them. And being Christ's hands, it's become my daily goal. That's a healthy starting place for empathy. I just wished I'd arrived at the starting line a little bit earlier. Thanks.